Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, and perhaps even good evening. Wonderful to see you all. It's so nice to be in the company of good 3D enthusiasts that can hopefully help me through this ever so slightly difficult workflow thing I've got planned for this exciting morning. Mr. Brian is here, who's also my moderator. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Mr. Mohammed is here. There's also Mr. Max Lethiel is here. And have I forgotten anybody? Maybe there's other people watching. Well, Max, of course, is here. And anyone else is out there watching, thank you so much for dropping by. I had this crazy idea that I'm following this creator on both on YouTube and on Twitch, and he's of course called Daniel. Daniel makes the most amazing stuff over on his YouTube and Twitch channel. He streams these things, multi-streams these things, and he has a Ko-fi page, and he makes all these things that he creates in Marvelous Designer available on his Ko-fi page, free to download. Drop the man a coffee. Brian, see if you can find his Ko-fi page here. This is it. This is just a small selection of the stuff he's done on stream, and you can download this for free. If you have Marvelous Designer or Clo, you can go and get these things and then play with them. So he doesn't want any money for it, but if you want to, you can donate him and just drop him a coffee or two, because he makes the most amazing bits and pieces. And I've been a fan of his for a while, and I always had this crazy idea. I love to bring some of these projects into Daz Studio and then make them usable in Daz Studio, and see if I can practice with these pieces, because quite frankly I'm no good at designing these things, but he is, and I'm good at maybe putting these things together, because it's not just bringing this into Daz Studio. There's also, you may have to go and remesh it because the geometry that comes out of Marvelous Designer is a little bit high. You may also not be able to transfer all the materials. You may have to go and set up new materials, and for a while there I didn't really know all the bits and pieces, but I'm getting there. So I thought this morning I'm going to pick one of his dresses, namely this one here, the live stream dress number 5. I'm going to go and download that. In fact, I have already downloaded it, and I'm going to try and fit it to the Genesis avatar and do all these bits and pieces in between. So that means seeing if I can extract proper UVs, set up maybe different material maps. This one's fairly simple. It only has 2, so there's one material for the dress and one for the sleeves. And I'm going to try and not take those out from Marvelous Designer directly. I'm going to try and put this into Substance Painter and then use cloth materials from there. There's probably an issue with the UVs that I'd like to redo the UVs in Blender. So that is the workflow that I'm going to try and do. I'm going to have Marvelous Designer, this in Marvelous Designer, then take this out and put it into Blender, perhaps remesh it, perhaps decimate it. We'll see what the materials look like. Maybe make them better, because that's a bit of a difficult one to make them fit a UV tile properly in Marvelous Designer, and then go and take this into Substance Painter, and then with the maps bring this thing into Daz Studio, and then hopefully rig it, maybe even put defaults on it if I can remember how to do it. Mr. Chris is here, Mr. Bob is here, the Steampunk Belladonna is here. That is really awesome to see you. So Mr. Chris, if you're up for it, please help me through this, especially the defaults part. I don't know if we're going to have time for it, but let's see. First of all, let's get some music going. I think that is just nice. If we have a bit of music, let me know if it's too quiet or too loud. Let me know if it's actually there. It's actually there. That's good. Could be too loud, could be too quiet. I'm always a bit paranoid about having things a bit too loud. I think the first thing I'll do is I'll load this up into Marvelous Designer. I'm not using the latest version, by the way. I haven't upgraded to 11 yet. I'm just going to use 10. That's totally fine. For what we do is probably going to be okay. Quantum, yes, I was going to ask about Quantum. Yes, how's she doing? Oh dear, that's no good. Chris, that's bad news. Can you talk about it? Is it something drastic? I mean, several days in hospital, sometimes they just want to keep you in for observation, and it's not actually that bad, but they'd rather do this so that, everyone's on the safe side, which I appreciate. Yeah, very sorry to hear that. Mr. Genius J, I'm not sure if that is the case, if that is true. Tog you Dara, thank you for following, I appreciate that. So I've downloaded the dress already, so let's see what it looks like when we just open it. Daniel makes these things available so it's just in the downloads folder, isn't it? Yeah, there we go, Stream Dress 5_1. He just makes the whole Z project available, or Z project. So it comes with the materials, with everything that is there, including the patterns, so you can study them and observe them, and it's just so awesome. So this is nice. The first thing I'll do, and this is just me being a geek, I'm gonna go and change the background color. I think that's under display, isn't it? Somewhere, format 3D background, that's it. I'm so used to dark interfaces, so I kind of like this. This is cool. So it looks a little bit, I haven't watched the stream in which he did it, but this looks, just judging by the head shape, this looks a bit like a Genesis figure, but it's not in the correct pose here. So this is not the pose that we have, the A pose that we have in Daz Studio. So in order to fit this properly, I'm going to go and export this avatar and then match my Genesis avatar that I'm going to go and put into here, and then put her into this kind of natural position, and then I will go and import the morph target back so that I have this dress in the proper A pose. So let's do that first before we look into exporting this. So let's do this in Daz Studio. No worries, yes, absolutely, no worries. Chris, I'm just glad everything is, you know, on its way up again. That's nice. Do you know, isn't it funny that as you get older, you just brush up with doctors and hospitals just so much more? I don't remember having to go to the doctors or hospitals until well into my 40s, really. Crazy stuff. Oh, I see. Thanks for letting me know. Does he use ZBrush himself? Because that's another part that we can put into the puzzle here. Put ZBrush into the mix. I'm going to use my own Stream Safe Textures product for that, so we get away with no nudity. And I'm going to use Genesis 8 for this. As soon as it loads. Yes, the older you get, the longer it takes for you to get better. Yeah, I totally agree. I might go and make a folder. Might not. Shall I make it in here? I think I might do that in here. Yes, let's do that. Let's create a folder, and then we put all our stuffs into here, and I can map that folder in Daz Studio, so anything we do in Daz Studio going forward will be in there. I might do that in Dropbox, Daz projects. Oh, that's full, getting full in here. I'm going to call this Daniel's Stream Dress 5. And that I will map in here. Daniel Stream Dress 5. There, let's map that here. And this is kind of our playground then, where we can save stuff. So the first thing I want to do is bring in this avatar here in this pose. So I don't know if it would be a different one. I'm just, you know, because it's like Chris said, if it's modified, then, you know, obviously I can't really use that. So I'm going to go and say export OBJ. And here I'll go and put this into Daniel's Stream Dress 5. I'll make another folder here. I'll call that OBJs. I'll just call this MD avatar so that I know where this is from, and I'll go and save that out. I don't want the patterns. I just want all the avatars as a single object in thick unified UV coordinates. I don't really mind about this. Scale 100% Daz scale. That's good. I don't really need any of the textures, not that there are any, but let's go and save that. So then back in Daz Studio, I have my regular Genesis figure, and I can go and import. Sadly, that doesn't work with the map folder. I have to still navigate there, but that's cool. We can do that. MD avatar, bring it in, and this is essentially just the Daz Studio preset here. Bring it in. There we go. So yeah, that's kind of lines up with what Chris was saying. There is a slight modification there. So she's a bit taller, his avatar versus mine, which is not as tall. But I think if I look at the shoulder height, that's going to work just fine. You know what? In fact, the pose, I could just go and grab the arms and grab the legs, but the pose looks very much like something that is made by where the 3D Universe tool called Pose Architect really helps. I've got it installed. This is all the bits and pieces that you can do, and you can basically just go and do sliders, and that makes complex movements with these figures. So I'm going to go and use something called the natural pose. I'll just search for that here. 3D Torso Natural. And if I go dial that up, look at that. It's almost exactly like the pose that Daniel's avatar has. So this is exciting. This, I think, yeah, Pose Architect. There's a couple of versions available. There's a main one and a thanks, Brian. Absolutely. There's a main one and there's an extension with more dials. So I highly recommend them. So I'm going to go and dial her to about here. So just so that the shoulders and the hips and all that are fairly aligned. Doesn't have to be absolutely accurate. And then I don't need the Marvelous Designer avatar anymore. But this is now my Genesis avatar, and I can go and export her into my OBJ folder, which I wish I had kind of quick mapped that here somewhere. Let's see if we can do that. Makes our lives a little bit easier. This is G8 adjusted, or G8 natural, so I'll know what that is. And it can be in this resolution. We don't have to do this in base resolution. I'll use the high-res version for this. And I will, once again, I'll use the Daz Studio thing, and I might write the surfaces. Yeah, let's do that. Let's enjoy ourselves. We don't really get textures in Marvelous Designer. But it's kind of, you know, it's working-ish to a certain extent. So now what I'll do is I can go and delete this avatar in Marvelous Designer and bring in my adjusted Genesis 8 version. So import add OBJ, G8 natural, add as avatar. Just don't select this option here, align bottom to ground. That's terrible. Let's not do that. And when we do that, we can see that for the most part, my avatar is kind of ish in the right position. So mainly what's important is that the arms are properly lined up. So had I put the A pose in, then Marvelous Designer would have probably been able to work out the torso bits here, but the arms, they would still stick out to about here. So it's nice to see that that the arms properly fit now. So all I need to do is now hit space and let Marvelous Designer do the fitting essentially to this avatar. And fingers crossed, hopefully this is going to work. Hectix is here. How you doing, sir? Wrinkles, you know, I'm so new to Substance Painter. This is actually not a dress that I've made. Daniel's made this. So Daniel's basically the master of Chloe and Marvelous Designer. So I didn't design this dress. He makes these available for download on his Ko-fi page. Drop him a coffee while you're there. He's so kind. He's so kind. He shows you how to do this. You can ask him questions during his streams. And not only that, he builds these things live on the stream. And then he makes these available for free for us to use, for non-commercial use, which is just awesome. So thank you so much, Daniel. Much appreciated. So there we go. Fingers are crossed. This has indeed worked. So this is nice. But of course, I can't now export my dress out yet because it's not in the A pose yet. So for that, I need to import a morph target from Daz Studio into Marvelous Designer so that this avatar now goes back into the A pose. And that we do by just dialing out this pose. So we're making her back into the A pose. And now I'll go and export this again from here, and I'll say G8 A pose. And we don't really need the surfaces. I'll just export it all. Hope it's going to work. And then back in Marvelous Designer, we'll go and say file. Well, first of all, we're going to switch the simulation off. Import add OBJ once again. And this time it's G8 A pose. And now I get this exciting dialogue here. Let me show you this. It is asking me, do you want to add this as an avatar? And I say, no, actually, I want to add this as a morph target. And this is essentially like what you do between things like Blender and the Genesis figure. If you've made an adjustment to the Genesis figure, you import a morph target into Daz Studio with Morph Loader. And this is essentially the same mechanism that you tell Marvelous Designer, hey, you have an avatar, I have an avatar that has the same vertex order, but the vertices are in a different position. So now can you shift whatever you have into the positions that I'm bringing? And then the avatar that is currently loaded will be shaped to that. So as soon as I click OK, watch what happens. It takes a moment because Marvelous Designer is going to do the simulation on every frame. But this is how you can go and let Marvelous Designer simulate poses as well. So if you had an A pose with your clothing and then you want this clothing to be draped by Marvelous Designer, you can pick up a pose in Daz Studio, export the avatar, bring it in as a morph target, and then that'll essentially now shape this dress to be fittable in the A pose. That's kind of cool. So now the dress is essentially ready to be brought into Daz Studio. We could do the transfer utility on it, we could set deforce up on it, and then it would work, you know, with a lot of hard and extra work. So I'm not going to go that way directly. I'm going to go and export this dress and then see if I can improve upon both the material zones as well as the packing of the UV space. So that'll be our next step. The first step actually is kind of to save the project, isn't it? Save as. And I'll go put that in our folder here, which is buried deep. I say I'm going to go and set this up as a shortcut here in Windows Explorer, because pin to quick access, that's what I was looking for. Daniel Stream Dress, perfect. So now I can go and say File, Save As, Project. And here we have somewheres that one. And then I'll make a new folder here. I'll call that MD Projects. I'll call this Address V2 because that's technically what it is. Just so that we have that saved. Well, I don't know him personally. We have chatted a few times on his Ko-fi page. I'm one of his supporters, and I every once in a while I tune into his stream. So yeah, he's wonderful. He's absolutely wonderful. Oh, really? 20 days you weren't allowed to do anything outside? Was that the COVID lockdown? Are you guys in lockdown in Austria already? Oh my goodness. Brutus, why don't they work for you? Why don't morph targets work for you in Marvelous Designer? What happens? Isn't that cool? Exactly, Brutus. Absolutely. Oh, wow. I hear, you know, Hectics, I hear that in Germany this is also about to happen. We're still fairly relaxed here in the US. It's interesting how it goes in swings and roundabouts. We're all preparing for the third shot, by the way, the second booster shot. So I think we all had our 2 injections, but now once 6 months has passed after the second injection, I think you're supposed to get a third one. I wonder if this is going to just keep going like this. Where was I? Dress. It now needs to be exported into Blender. I mean, so first of all, what we can do here is go over to our UV editor, and we could use Marvelous Designer to do this, but the problem is it isn't very good at packing UV maps. I mean, it's certainly trying. So the thing you need to do, if you wanted to just bring this out from Marvelous Designer into Daz Studio, this needs to be properly UV mapped. So currently all these patterns are on different positions of the UV space. They need to all be in here in this 0 to 1 space, and technically Marvelous Designer has that. When you right click on this menu and say fit UV into 0 to 1 space, then it does this. You could say okay, but it doesn't do a great job. I mean, if you look at this, there's things overlapping, and it basically just looked at however they were laid out, and it shrinks it down so that it fits into the 0 to 1 space. So that isn't great. If you look at how neat Daniel has laid out his patterns, there's nothing overlapping, quite the opposite. And I would kind of like to keep it that way. So what I'm going to do is not use this option in Marvelous Designer. I'm going to go and go Control Z, well, Control Z to undo the thing here. Man, it does Control Z in regards to undoing what I did with the interface. I'm trying to undo, let's use the history panel for that. I'm going to undo the packing here. Thankfully, I had saved it just before. Switch modes, edit, normal, default. Is this it? I think this is it. We're going back to here, right? No, we're going back further. There, that's what I want to do. So I'm going to go and export this like that, only because I have a feeling that might be more beneficial in Blender. This is not a subject matter that I know a great deal about, but if you were to export this to be used somewhere else, you wouldn't want to export it like this. But I have a feeling Blender's probably going to understand this. Do you know, there's actually overlapping stuff here as it is, so maybe I need to do a bit of unoverlapping before I give it to Blender. You know, like this. There's also this ring. We could make that a bit bigger and put it on the outside or something. There's these things, they overlap. So you could do this manually, but it's just, who has the time really, you know? So I'm going to go and export this as it is and see what Blender can do with it. So this might go horribly wrong, but hey, let's see what we can do, shall we? So in OBJs, I'll say dress v2. I shall just call it that. And I don't want to use my avatars, just all patterns, single objects, fix good, UV coordinates will fix at 100%. I could fiddle with the scale here already. I could export it at 1%. That's actually not a bad call. Let me do that as 1%, so then I don't have to readjust it in Blender. I'm thinking. Right, so you already built that into when you lay out the patterns, Chris. That's interesting. Right, he stays in Clo. Yes, indeed, yeah. Yes, for those of us who want to get out of Clo, we need to be concerned about these things. Yeah, so Blender, I suppose, the one good thing about Marvelous Designer is since you already have patterns here, you already think about, hey, this is going to be material 1, this is going to be material 2, and so forth. And kind of Marvelous Designer does this too, in a way, but as you get more patterns with more materials, sometimes you end up with so many material zones that Marvelous Designer would export that it's beneficial to kind of tidy these things up in Blender. I like the fact that you already think about this, Chris. That's clever. That is very clever. Hey, I love the shoes that you've made. I've sent you the file with the substance materials that I've made, so you can integrate that on your Ko-fi page if you like. It's yeah, it was my pleasure to do this. I'm looking forward to doing it again for the shoes that you're currently building once they're finished. The Blender. I'm gonna go and have to set up my own favorite here, namely Daniel Stream Dress. There we go. Let me make that a favorite here. This is Dress V2. We want this. We don't necessarily want that. We kind of probably want this. We'll see what happens. Indeed, check my man Chris out. Chris is streaming regularly on Twitch and he's building these things. He basically does the whole thing from Marvelous Designer into Daz Studio via Blender. He's a master at that. And he also sets up defaults. So Elithiel, if you're still here, if you want to subscribe to his channel, follow his channel, then check out what he's doing, because he knows a lot about rigging, a lot more than I do. And he does this like in his sleep, you know. He just, Chris goes and puts defaults on dresses as if it's not really a big deal. We're all in great awe of that. Alrighty, so this is the dress. Looking good. I haven't checked the vertex count. Let's have a look how big that is. So it is, yeah, okay, it has 500,000 polygons, or nearly like 400,000. So we may want to think about making that a little bit lither for use in Daz Studio. So I might go and remesh it as well. That's, you can do that in ZBrush as well. That's also possible. That might be another little thing I might try. But in regards to materials, we have, yeah, cool, we have these two. That's quite nice. That is exciting. And just to check which ones are which, this is that. So I might just go and rename this into sleeves. And then I'm hoping this one here, that is kind of the rest. I'm thinking, so this is actually an interesting, this might be interesting to bring this into ZBrush and then split it out into automatic polygroups and see what ZBrush detects. Because there's a thing here, we'll see that in the UVs later, there's a thing on the inside of the skirt, this is kind of an inside hem, that could become another material zone and all that. I think we don't need to do it here. But yeah, so this is that. But it's a little bit heavy. So before we get packing, let's just have a look at this. Yeah, cool. So they're all here. It's all come in, and we'll let Blender take care of the packing. I think what I want to do first, though, is decimate it a bit and see how we make that a bit lighter. So Daz Studios can handle it, but it's not going to be all that fluid. Do you know what I mean? It's just if we give it less to do, like about 100,000, that's probably going to be better. It is the decimate. Oh, do you know what I should have also done in Marvelous Designer before export? I should have quadrangulated it. Let's see what the decimation looks like now. I should have quadrangulated it. I might do it again. Let's see how we get how we can reduce this to 0.5 maybe. Ideally, Blender would have a progress bar that lets us see what's going on, but alas, it does not. So with decimation, it's always one of those things you want to make sure that you don't lose too much detail. And Marvelous Designer is kind of crazy at doing really good detail with the low particle distance, but then when you come to try and use it in other applications, it's a bit like ZBrush, when you have this amazingly high-res sculpt with 12 million polygons. Yeah, of course it's beautiful, but which other engine can handle that? Not sure what's happening here. That could be the decimation. Yeah, so we're starting to lose detail in the sleeves here now. So maybe 0.2 is a bit criminal. I think 0.5 wasn't actually that bad. It's about 200,000 that we have then. We can maybe just make it like 0.4 or something. Just be under 200. Yeah, look at that, 169,000. That might be nice. And then this is going to be okay as soon as we put a subdivision surface modifier on it. It'll be all okay. Funny enough, if I go and apply this now, I think my material zones are still going to be in place. Brutus, yes, absolutely. Yes, so you can do what the real professionals do, and again, we can try this as well. The real professionals don't let Marvelous Designer weld, because this happens. So you let Blender weld, or ZBrush. So I might try that as well. I've forgotten how welding works in Blender, but maybe I can figure it out. So the cool thing is, after decimation, I love that about Blender, it has the same material zones still intact, which is admirable. So they are still the same. I don't know how it does it, because technically the geometry is now destroyed and rebuilt, and it kind of still does materials that way. That's just awesome. I like it. You know, let me try, just to satisfy my curiosity here, let me go and try and quadrangulate this in Marvelous Designer. So these are tries now. Let's go and mark them all and hit quadrangulate. See if that yields a better result. It might take a second. Yeah, so the particle distance here is a bit narrower than here. And this is why you get all this beautiful detail in the ruffles here. Brutus, I totally agree. Hectix doesn't like Blender either. And it's I can see it if all I can tell you is it grows on you. If I may make a comparison to ZBrush, there I've had ZBrush since 2014, and I've only now fairly recently started using it occasionally. But it literally took me over 6 years to get used to the UI. And I just couldn't handle it. It was just not speaking to me. I was just not connecting with ZBrush. So I totally understand that that some people just can't handle the Blender UI because they think, look, I don't know what to do with it. And I've used Blender since the 2.6 days, and so we had that UI change on top of that. So that made things a little bit difficult. But now's a good time to learn Blender because it is getting more powerful all the time. And the UI, much like in ZBrush, like you probably know, the UI eventually just goes and fades into the background. So there, this looks a bit prettier now. May have also tidied up the geometry count a little bit. So let me go and export this again and see how Blender finds that. We'll call this one dress. It's still V2, and I'll just call it Q version. .4, yes, I remember that, Ryukin. That is the one that I opened, cried, closed, and uninstalled because that didn't make any sense to me. The 2.4 series was, oh. And then, exactly, and then it was kind of better, wasn't it? You know, Hectix, thanks for the dynamic, for the links that you posted about the dynamic tab in ZBrush. I didn't even know that existed. So one of those things, yeah, I'm like that as well. I get to try things out in ZBrush, and I'm no good at sculpting at all, but it has really powerful functions that that we can use in these workflows. I didn't check the scale. What was the scale? I didn't check the scale. I like that there's this one-click integration with Daz Studio and ZBrush. Want to fix something, boom, it's in ZBrush, fix it, go bring it back. That's wonderful. I like that. And, you know, I know many people knock it, but I do also like Hexagon for that reason, that sometimes fixing something in ZBrush is great. Other times it's really good to fix things in ZBrush, in Hexagon. And you just go and it's just there. You don't have to have temporary files and all that. Dress 2Q. Oh, see, I've welded it again, didn't I? That's the other thing I wanted to do. Oh, I wanted to not do. So sorry, guys. Let's go and export this again. So, dress 2Q. First of all, it gives me an opportunity to check the scale, but also I didn't want to weld it here. I'm going to try and weld this in Blender now. Now, I remember Christina showed me how to do this. It has to do with removing double points. So Blender does this by looking at which vertices are close together, and you give it kind of a tolerance there. And then if it detects, say, there's 2 points in more or less the same space, it goes and merges that point. But I don't remember how that works. So maybe we can figure it out together. Chris, if you know how that works, do let me know. I can probably search Blender for this. So no avatars. We want it unwelded. There we go. It is unwelded. Oh, that's perfect. Unwelded, and the scale needs to be 0.1. Unwelded is what we want. Boom. That gives me reason to believe that perhaps it wasn't welded before either, which is why we detected that seam. We'll figure it all out together. How much is the Ryukin? How much is the ZBrush core right now? I can't quite remember how that was. How much that was. Indeed, Chris, that's what I thought. And I remember the function, and it's called remove doubles. But where was it? Somewhere in the edit menu. And Blender remembers, that's nice. Do you know what? Good question. Yeah, I must have done. Otherwise, it wouldn't have let me choose this. I must have done. It's a good question, though. Dress, here you are. There it is. Yeah, let's weld this first. Chris, let's try and weld this first. I think you select everything. And then you do edit, select, or point M key. There we go. I thought it was simple. Add center, right? Merge at center, is that right? Merge selected vertices. No, that's not what we want to do, is it? Edit, select. Let's try that. Okay, that's not what we wanted to do. I knew it. Wasn't it remove doubles? Stefan, thank you so much for the super chat donation. I appreciate that, buddy. RSD 500. That sounds like a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Edit, select all points. Right, so it's not actually select everything. It's in edit, select all points. Good thing there's select by select random. That's nice. Checker deselect. Ooh, that's exciting. Could be under vertex. That's a good point. That could be vertex groups. I'm just going to search F3 remove doubles. Well, that doesn't come up. Maybe just select everything and then try remove doubles. No, that isn't it either. Oh, okay. Was I? Where was I? So like with the M menu, this one here. By distance. Oh, that's what you mean. By distance. Merge by distance. Little thing comes up here. How big the distance needs to be. Let's see if that. Do you know? Yes, actually, that was the solution because we already have half the geometry that we had before. So it has already done it now, hasn't it? That's the one. Thank you so much, Chris. Awesome. I appreciate that. Oh, goody. So now, then, we're merged and welded, are we? Let's hope. And that kink on the side is indeed gone that we saw earlier. So, ha ha ha. That is how to do it. So then, you know, while I'm in such a good mood, let's bring the other dress back. This is the one that we had. Where was that? There it is. Something not quite right with the scale here. This one is a bit too small, isn't it? Nevertheless, that's the original one that we brought in. So just to prove that point with the seam here, and just to see if that actually brings that back. So this was the seam. Let's go into edit mode. Go and select all points. Press M and say by distance. Watch the magic at work. And see if that seam goes away. It does not. Okay, maybe it was the quads then. That could be. Well, we didn't like this version anyway because it wasn't quadrangulated, so we'll stick with our quadrangulated version of the dress. Which something still isn't quite right with the scale here, so it's only 9 centimeters tall, so that can't be right. That can't be right. Is this better? This is more like the real scale, isn't it? Yeah, so I must have had a 0 wrong there at one point. Let's use Control A to apply the scale. Very important. Goody. And do the same that we did before with the material zones here. So that's the dress. And then this must be the sleeves. So interestingly, now that we have the better geometry, I don't feel the need that I need to decimate it anymore. It's kind of there already. Groovy. So now then, I suppose it's on to the next step, and that is to bring this into Substance Painter and see if we can put some, oh no, actually the UV mapping, or the UV packing rather. Let's see if Blender does a better job at that. So these are not on the 0 to 1 space. Let's go and make that happen under Pack Islands. That's much better and faster than what Marvelous Designer could do. I don't know if it's going to be good, so it's probably a good idea to either see what the materials are doing in Substance. So it could be that if we have the same material on the bottom part, it might look stretched on the top part, or vice versa. So this would be a good time to check it with the checker pattern. But perhaps we'll leave that, we'll just bring it into Substance Painter and see what it looks like. And if it needs fixing, we'll go and do it. And if it doesn't, then we don't. I'm thinking. Right. Let's go and export this out now. Also as OBJ. We'll call this one Dress V3. Scale won't matter. Selection only might matter. And we don't really need to keep the vertex, or maybe we should keep the vertex order. And the polygroups. Let's just, let's bring it all in. Let's not triangulate anything. Y up, that should do the trick, right? Hey, the Emerga is here! How you doing? Good afternoon to Belgium. Very good to see you. Let's bring in the Substance Painter and some more coffee. Trader, I have seen your question about the processor. I'm going to say I don't know much about the Ryzens. I'm more like an Intel Xeon man, but only because I like using technology from 5 to 10 years ago, because I find it's just, you get the super high-tech stuff that used to be $10,000 for 500 now, and and you get the stuff that used to be 2,000 for literally 20 bucks, and that's the kind of stuff I tend to buy. So I don't tend to buy new bits and pieces. I have enough HP workstations here that were all like second/third hand, and they work okay. They have dual Xeons that are a few years old, but they really pack a punch, and they cost next to nothing compared to what a new computer would cost me. So I haven't never looked into the into the AMD processors, but I hear the Threadrippers are quite excellent. But that's basically where my knowledge ends. Which one's better for what? I don't really know. You need a fairly decent CPU, but you don't have to have a super fast CPU. As most of the hard work's being done by the GPU these days, and the CPU basically feeds data into the GPU. So sometimes textures need to be compressed and all that. That's before it gets sent to the GPU, and that's basically where a good CPU comes in. But you can get by with with not the most expensive CPU, as long as you have a good GPU. If you can get a hold of one, I think you're going to be fine. Probably Emerga. I don't know much about it. Yeah, I just thought I'll use the quick pack that Blender does, because it does a better job than what Marvelous Designer did. But yeah, with manual futzing, I can probably get even better results. We may have to do that. I just wanted to see if I can bring this in to Substance, and if it works okay. And if not, we're going to have to do a bit of some changes here anyway, I think, with the UV. So that's just, I'm just trying to see, does it actually work as expected? So this does work. This is nice. It's come in. That's awesome. We've got the dress and we've got the sleeves. That's nice. Even though they're called sleeves 001, we'll rename that later. So let's see what happens when we put a material on it. Like, I think Daniel used a denim type material. Soft denim, maybe we'll try that. All the way here. This is nice that it shows up the texture. So I have a feeling that the top here has a slightly different scale than the bottom. Oops. Or maybe not. Maybe I just can't say. Maybe 8's good. And then we'll make it a different color, maybe? And navigating substance on a trackball isn't easy, I gotta say. Maybe we'll leave it at 8. And instead of this, I think Daniel's was kind of a more like a gray. That's what that'd be like. Or we can try a different color, like a subdued thing. I like leaving it gray. I think I like that. I like that kind of desaturated and just leave it gray, much like what Daniel had there. I'll just leave that. Blue Owl Productions, thank you so much for the super chat donation. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Oh, that is nice. That is so nice of you. So what I don't know yet, are we okay with this? I think it is. I think it is. I thought it might be, change might be, the scale might be different, but I think we're okay. What we're going to do about the sleeve, so in Daniel's picture, the sleeves are kind of see-through. So maybe I'd like something like a velvet type material on here. That might be good. But this, I don't know what you call this material. Is it? If you know what this is called, do let me know. See if we can find something like that on the Substance. What's it called? The thing where you download the materials. Their Substance Source or whatever it's called. Not Source. So the asset thing store. That I don't even know where that is, but I'm sure there's a button somewhere inside Substance. Do you know where that is? The button that gets me to the place where I get other things. Is that it? This is it here? No, that's just the pick and choose. This is Resources Updater. This is Browse 3D Assets in Marketplace. Maybe that's it. This is the application that I dislike, by the way. Stock and Marketplace. It's not really what I want to have a look at, is it? It totally isn't. That's totally not what I want. Chiffon Ryukin, that could be. Let me see if I find it on the internet. Substance3d.adobe.com. I think that's what it is. Substance abuse. They don't make it easy, do they? Stager is their rendering thing. Painter, Designer, Sampler. And then there's also Substance 3D Assets, is that it? I think that's it. That's also 3D assets. That's not really what I'm after. Materials is kind of what I'm after. There we go. Chiffon. I like it. Thank you, Ryukin. That's typing Ryukin. I meant to type chiffon. Does it exist? Polyester chiffon silver. Is that good? We can't say. Maybe it is. Different color and we're there. Ooh, look, comes with presets with these types of things. Ooh, I like. Gimme. Download. chiffon. And the other thing is a velvet that I'm thinking of trying out. Carpet velvet, interlacing embossed velvet. Ew, look at that. That might be nice too. Since I have 112 credits, might as well treat ourselves. Let's go with velvet. And the velvet iridescent. That looks freaky. Perhaps not for this project. And then there's velvety carpet. I can barely see anything. Maybe there's one in the starter assets that we can try. Maybe we already have a velvet. We don't. Oh, smart material maybe? No. I like the denim too. I'm happy with the denim. Let's see how the chiffon looks. Import. Add resources. Downloads. These things. They are base materials, I would imagine. Import into maybe just my current session for now. Do you know, Ryukin, I've just had a look into it. It's nice. It's their official add-on brings in substance materials into Blender, and from what I understand, you don't need to own the Substance Painter program to use substance materials inside Blender. So that's very nice. There's a limitation. You can only bring in 3 substance materials at the moment, and they're only base materials, but it does work. If we have time today or maybe tomorrow, I can show you how I did it. There's actually, let me show you what I have done with it. This is something that's a bit of a joke that we've had there on the non-fungible people server the other day. It was in animated icon, wasn't it? Did I put that in here? Yes, we came up with this word depthy. Somebody was describing that Cake One's work is very depthy. So I made that. Can we loop in there? Yes. So this is just a GIF, which is why it looks a little pixelated. But I've done this all in Blender. So these materials, they're all substance materials. So this one, I wanted to use all 6 of them to be substance materials, but it couldn't bring it in. It could only bring in 3, and then the 4th one it just didn't let me do. So I had to use materials from Blender. So this is a Blender material, but this is from Substance, and I think these 2 are from Substance, and then this one, that one, and that one is all from the internal Blender library. But yeah, it's very easy to set up, and you just browse to the materials and you just go and apply it to the surface zone in Blender that you want. It's very cool. So yeah, depthy. It does, doesn't it? Juicy. It looks very juicy. I've done so many things. I've made myself an animated avatar as well. This one is changing color. I thought that's nice and subtle. And then the other thing I've done this week was to create, I believe, this here. This is a scrolling banner, because Discord now has scrolling banners. That's nice, like loops forever. That's also cool. But for some reason we can't upload it, so we'll see when we can do that. And the other thing I've done is this one. Yes, that one. So this is the animated server icon for that. That's very nice too. It's very cool. I'm having lots of fun with all these little projects here. So let's see. This we're going to try later. Chiffon on the sleeves. See what that looks like. Hang on a minute. Has my material changed here? This isn't what the denim looked like a minute ago. That's interesting. This is not the denim that I put on there. I'm going to have to re-put that on there. How interesting. How did that happen? So this also probably needs its scale changing here. Maybe also 8. Let's try that. But most importantly, Or do I need to mask it off now? Yeah, I need to mask it off now or something, don't I? Ugh. How do I make this transparent then in Substance Painter? Never thought about that. I just, in Daz Studio, I would just, or in Blender, I would just turn down the opacity, but in here, I don't really know how to do it. Let me try and see what happens on the dress front here. Why has that changed? Fabrics, let's go get rid of that and try to put the denim back on. Fabric denim base. And I think I set 8. See, this looks different now. Don't know what happened there. And didn't we also change the color? Didn't we? Could have sworn we did. I don't even know where the color is anymore. Color's gone. Oh, because I'm on the wrong thing now. Wasn't there a color thing I could adjust? I'm totally lost. Hey, this is what I'm puzzling with. I thought on the denim base, isn't there a color? Am I not seeing it? Totally not seeing it. Oh, it's because I used soft denim. Duh. Different material, soft denim. It was like slightly brown, wasn't it? There we go, that's what it was. And then I can make it gray. Now, this is all so new to me. Kind of a dark gray. And then we do the scale here. And that was kind of 8, wasn't it? Or maybe, whoops, maybe 12. There. There we go. Back. So, guys, tell me, how do I make something transparent like the sleeve? How do I make that transparent? I'd imagine there's some kind of an opacity slider here. I would imagine. But not knowing much about Substance Painter, add an opacity channel to the material. Oh dear, that sounds interesting. I guess I don't have them. Channel mapping, I've got base, roughness, metallic and normal, but I don't have... I have to add an alpha channel. How do I do that then? So that's a channel on the material. That's not a layer on the material, that's a channel on the material. I don't think I know how to do that, to be honest. See if it's obvious. See if we can make it happen. Create material preset, that's probably not what we want. Thank you, Brian, I appreciate that. Thank you, Merga, I appreciate that very much that you guys look into this. This is awesome. I really want to crack this Substance thing. It's a wonderful, wonderful program, but there's just certain concepts that I'm not familiar with at all. Meanwhile, I'm going to have a look around here. I don't think it's anywhere here. It probably has to do with where the material is. Could there be something like edit? Don't think it would be on a file. Viewport Python. That doesn't really tell me. Doesn't suggest something. I can see that. There's a channel under channel mapping here. I can see that I don't have one, and it says I can load up an alpha mask. So I could maybe use a diffuse, base color, glossiness, metallic, speculated, height. Maybe let's try diffuse mask. Is that good? I think I've screwed it up now. I'm gonna go back. That's probably not how to do it. Yes, I really appreciate that, guys. If we can figure this out together, this would be awesome. So meanwhile, I can try and remember the process of getting this out of here and into Daz Studio. Perhaps we can try that while we're checking out an answer here. See if I can go and import this dress that I've exported from Blender. So dress v3, let's go and import that here and see how it comes in size-wise. So size-wise, we probably need a bit of an increase here. Is it even here? Yes, there it is. It's coming, it's coming. So let's go try that again. Dress v3. Try to bring that in at that size, and that is pretty much good. Check in the Windows menu, view texture, set that it's checked. Shader settings, you'd think. I've got texture set list and texture settings. Shader settings, this one here. That might not be it. Parallax occlusion, that looks all very crazy. I might close it down again. In that texture set settings, in the channel section, click on the plus icon. In the one that I've just had open, the plus icon, I don't think I see one. Anything on here? No, that's just a different section here. I can't watch YouTube videos while I'm streaming YouTube videos, I'm afraid, Ryukin. That I can't do that. It means rebroadcasting people's material. And that is not allowed. Texture set setting, I don't really know where you mean, I'm afraid, Emerga. Could be under channels, that one. Opacity true. It looks like there's one here. Is that good? Under texture channel, under opacity true. Does that mean we have opacity? I wish I knew. Hey, if worse comes to worse, we'll just export it as it is and just turn down the opacity in Daz Studio. I think that'll be possible. So if the dress is already here, that's good. We can just apply the material that we have and just make that transparent here when we import the map, since we have that separate material zone. I think that should be okay. Let's do that. See if we can just export the whole thing and then bring it into Daz Studio. Let's try that. So one thing is that currently we've got these two material zones, and I think if I export this, then Daz Studio Substance is going to go and give me a set of maps per material zone, and thankfully I can go and have have an automation that'll combine them all for me by exporting these into Photoshop. So let's see if I can remember how to do that. They didn't take all too long, I must say. This has only been an hour, and you know, we're already at a point where we're bringing things into Daz Studio, so that's actually very good. A skilled operator would be able to do this much faster. I like it. All right, let's go and say File, Send to, Export to Photoshop. I'll have a look, Emerga, thanks. Let me go and export this. And then we'll take a look at that. So right to the layer, you have texture set settings. Like this is the layer, right? And then right of that, this here, could that be it? I'll have a look. I'm so glad you know about Substance. It's exporting stuff now. Then Photoshop is going to run a script. And that'll now load all these things in to separate bits and pieces. And then I have another script that goes and combines all these textures in a minute. Too high, okay. I'll go lower next time, thank you. '6989 Summit, hello sir, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. I'm just experimenting with Substance Painter and Blender and Marvelous Designer. Bring it all together in Daz Studio. Oh, there we go. So these are now all the maps separate. And then there is a little script here. Did I put that into my scripts folder already? No, I didn't. I should really do that. This is something called Submerger that someone put on GitHub because save change to disk. No, actually, because I want to do it manually. He was annoyed by the fact that Adobe just doesn't want to put this in themselves. We can remove all the others. We only have 3 maps on output. Is that right? No, we have more, don't we? So dress base color. Let me go and see if... Are we doing JPEGs here? We're doing PNGs. Let me just change that. Export as. Format needs to be JPEG in 4K. That's good. No, that's not what I meant. I meant export preferences. So I put it on my short key and make it JPEG. Quality is 75% good. That's okay. Now the shortcut says we're good on here. Now, before I apply this, let me put this into a proper textures folder so that I don't have to remap it later. I'll just do that now while I'm working at it. So if this is already our project folder, I'm going to go and put one in that's called runtime textures. And this is just so complicated because it just saves me a little bit of work later. If I do ever want to redistribute this. And I'm going to call this just Daniel, well, Daniel, man. Daniel Stream Dress 5, and that's just dress base colors good. And I could save the PSD, I won't do that. I'll just save out all the JPEGs. Oh, can you believe it? I'm gonna have to go and navigate there every time. That's not good, is it? It's okay, I'm a patient man with a lot of time. Dress metallic. Dress normal. We don't have a normal map. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I might export, and there's no point exporting it if we don't have it. And now we go and close all those windows. Close all, apply to all, and don't save. We're good. Haha. All right. Now, Neville, good evening. How are you? No, you don't have to have Photoshop if you have Substance Painter. So Substance Painter is essentially like a 3D version of Photoshop, if you will. It allows you to paint directly on 3D objects, but also not just paint with color, but paint with proper materials. And it works almost similar to the Photoshop paradigms, but in 3D objects. Adobe have recently started removing the 3D features that they had in Photoshop because they needed updating, and, you know, APIs get deprecated and all that. So they said, hey, we have Substance now that kind of does that, what Photoshop 3D features used to be able to do. So we're going to remove those things from Photoshop now. So if you want to do something 3D and painting related, you should use Substance, is what they're saying, is basically, is what they're saying. Yes, indeed. If you wanted access to my private Discord server, it's a Discord server just for supporters. So anyone who's on there is a supporter. You can either go sign up here on YouTube for the $5 tier, or you can buy me a coffee on Ko-fi, or you can sign up on Patreon. All of that gets you an invite to the Discord server. Righty, let's see what we can, if we go and put, these are Iray materials, or Iray surface properties. I like that. See if we can make it happen. Those are Chris's textures. The base color is this. Okay. Certainly has come in. I like it. Then under glossy, I think we have the glossy roughness. And that needs to be turned on to 1. Yeah, okay. That's rough. That's rough, man. Metallic flakes. I think we had a metallicity map. I don't know if we have any metalness here. But let's put it in if we have it. And we did not have a normal map, did we? What was the other thing that we had? Just curious, we had the height map. The height map is kind of the bump map then, isn't it? Let me go and try to use that. I don't know why we didn't get a normal map, but if I go and use this as a height, the height as a bump map, that should work, right? I'm thinking. And just be gentle with it. Also looks like it needs to be inversed maybe. Yeah, I don't know why we didn't get a bump map. I'll copy this whole material and put it on my sleeves. Also, I was hoping to put that on here. Looks like that hasn't come across. Paste material to surface. Dude. Copy. Paste. Doesn't work. Why not? Yeah, that's curious, isn't it? Unless I've copied out the wrong maps. Could that be? Could that be? Oh, you got a broken rib? No way! Neville, that's bad news. How did that happen? Broken rib, did you fall? I hope you didn't. So this didn't work well. That's uncool. And I haven't figured out where the transparency channel is. Let me just go and reread what Emerga said. See if I can find it. And then we try and export these maps again. Let's see here. So you're saying in the right column, this is too high, so it's not here because this is the actual layer. Let me try to find that that transparency channel again here, Emerga. See if I can figure this out. You said it's on the right. What are these things? Are these anything that's log, history, shader settings? Could that be it? Display settings, shader settings, anything? Tessellation. I don't know. I don't seem to find it. Sorry, Emerga. I can't follow your instructions. Or was it? I'm so sorry. I don't see the screen capture, Emerga. Sorry. It's cool. I'll look later when I'm when I'm off the stream. Let me just try and export this again and also figure out why I didn't have a normal map with this, which I thought was going to happen. What happens if I go and export my textures? Have I set the correct things here with the output template and all that? I never know what to choose here. This is another thing. If you know which output template I should use, this one here perhaps, PBR metallic roughness, is that the one I should be using? But when I set this on export, how do I set this so that it goes into Photoshop? I'll just save settings perhaps. Is that how I do it? Oh, you meant the Discord. Oh, okay. Are we still talking about the same thing? Maybe we don't. Save settings. PBR roughness. Let me see what happens if I go and say send to Photoshop now. Base height roughness metallic. Yeah, so we don't really need the height, but the normal, I'm thinking, instead. Even though last time it didn't really do a normal. So let me just try this again. See what happens. Negative. All right. I'll leave you guys to it. Yeah, there's so many pitfalls in this whole workflow that I haven't worked out yet. I'm sure once we know the best way, we just go and do it, and it's not actually that difficult. But if you don't, then you have this branching thing. There's like 400 million options that you don't really know which one's the best route to go down to. Brian's found out something really exciting. So Brian's been looking into the Russian 3D scanner, and I'm so looking forward for you to make a video about this. Brian's taken a, see, no normal map again, crazy stuff. Brian's taken a 3D scan and mapped it to both the base figures in Daz Studio as well as iClone. That is very cool. Awesome work, and it worked both for materials as well as the actual shape. So that's very, very exciting. Save changes to disk. Yeah, see, it still hasn't done the sleeves, so the sleeves just don't come out for some reason. So I might just go and export these separately directly from Substance then, and see if I can map those and see what happens to the sleeves then. Close all. Don't save, because we're good. Export textures, output template. Thanks for not remembering. List of exports is this. That's nice. Output directory. Let me go and set this up to that textures directory. Oh, that's just open. Up here, and then there, and there, and there, and there. PNGs, let's make it JPEG. See if that works. Not that many maps. Yes, indeed. Give yourself a shout out, Brian. Awesome. And I'm still watching your other video where you made that character, the kind of the scaly character, also in Substance Painter. 12 textures, okay, that's neat. See, so I'll do the sleeves first then, because they should have separate maps in here now. Everything starts with dress V3 sleeve, so sleeves base color. Aha, there we go, that worked. Dress sleeves roughness. Gotcha. Set to 1. Do we have a normal map now? For the sleeves? We do. And there's actually something on there. So I don't know what happened with the Photoshop export. And that means we don't need that anymore. And that's set to 1. And we do have metallic stuff, I think. Not that there's anything on there, but while we have it, we might as well put it on there. And if I want to make that transparent, I just use my geometry channel here and just drop down the cutout opacity manually here. There. For those of us who just don't get it, totally fine. And then the material here, that doesn't look great. So let's go and set up the dress as well. Again, with the uncombined maps. That would be here, dress base color. Roughness map, good stuff. Metallic map, whoops. Not that there's anything metallic on there. Also bump, I suppose we don't have that, but we have the normal map. Dress normal, yes, I like it. Subtle, but yes, we have it. And that was that, wasn't it? See what it looks like in iRay. Just with the default HDRI. Yeah, so ideally you don't want different maps for different material zones, only because it takes twice as many images to load in, and we don't really want that. You usually want them combined. It almost does look like Daniel's dress, doesn't it? This could be even more transparent here, the sleeves. Say 0.3, even less than that. I'd also like for this to have a bit more of a kind of a cream color, but if we don't want to do this in Substance, we can just add that here in Daz Studio. Like on the base color, instead of making that white, we can just give that a little bit of an off-white, like a champagne type color. And this is a bit what it looked like in Daniel's picture, I think. Yeah, there we go. That's what his looked like. With a bit of a decent lighting setup, I think we're kind of getting there. I want to avoid for this to look green, so stay away from green and just make it a bit warmer instead. So stay away from that side. Just go to the other side a bit. Okay. Hey, that's not bad. That's not bad at all, if I say so myself. Ha! This is good! That would be so cool, Brian. Thank you. Because I'm literally this close to... If only I had 9-day weeks, you know. There's so much more stuff that I'd like to do. And I just don't have the time during the week. This week literally went by like that. And the Russian 3D scanner is definitely on my list of things to do. Also for a project I'm working on. It'd be just so good to know how to do this. Hey, we do have half an hour. Let's see if we can put just a quick portrait together just with a pose. Let's see if we can run the transfer utility. See if I don't want to ruin this with D-Force, with my inadequate knowledge of D-Force, that is. So I'm thinking, ideally I'd like for the sleeves not to have D-Force, so the puffiness stays in shape. And we might get away with just having a subtle pose before I focus more on D-Force in my own time, perhaps tomorrow, I don't know. Let's make it happen, let's try it. So assets, transfer utility. Also, what I should do, just save the scene. I'll go and make a new folder here. And call it Daz Scenes. I even maybe spell it correctly this time. Without a B. Last time I checked, scenes was not spelled with a B. And I'll just go and save the scene here. Just V3 before we do anything, you know, drastic. What are the V materials, Ryuken? I don't think I know those. NVIDIA V materials. I don't think I've heard of that. So, select an item. Show options. Select Genesis 8 female as a source. Target figure is the dress. Projection template, none. That's okay. I think anything we have is good. I'd rather not fit it. Well, no, fitted, yes, parent, no, and no smoothing modifier. See how it goes. Nothing happened. That is good. That's exactly what we want. But the dress is now a conforming figure. So if I go and put her into the natural pose again, what happens to the dress? Yeah, it kind of crinkles and shrinks together here. That's okay. I wonder if we should just use D-Force just on the skirt, but I'd rather it. I want for it to remain kind of you know, as puffy as it currently is. So this is a weight map issue, that the geometry kind of collapses there. We can just go smooth that out because the legs now influence the skirt part. So this is why a bit of D-Force on the bottom would be good. I think on the sleeves, I think we're probably... Oh yeah, we could do with a bit of smoothing there as well. Yeah, so D-Force overall would be ideal. That would be really cool. All we do it with Marvelous Designer. Don't worry about D-Force at all. Just let the dress get fitted again in Marvelous Designer. That's another possibility. Yes, this is now where the tricky part begins. The tricky hard work of not wanting to ruin something that's actually very good, you know. Good morning, Mr. Nate. Yeah, Hectics, that's something that's a bit of a mystery to me. Chris knows more about this, so if you watch Chris's streams, he fixes these things all the time. I'm kind of scared to touch it now. I might just go and set up a couple of lights and just see if if I can just get a decent render out of this as an example. That'd be kind of nice. Yeah, because if we now add D-Force overall, this is going to just have everything melt, I have a feeling. We can try it, but why don't we try? Let's try. See if I can remember how to do it. Try D-Force, go on, let's try. So, on the simulation settings, with the dress selected, I'll go and add a D-Force dynamic surface modifier and just try to use just the defaults really. See what happens if I do that to 90% and see what D-Force does. This might go horribly wrong, so this could be, well, where the dress just completely melts or explodes or does other kinds of things, so we'll see what happens. Mr. Patrick Scholderman! Live long and prosper, my friend. Very good to see you. Good afternoon to Holland. Yes, see, this is what we want to avoid. So, yeah, that's as far as we go with D-Force today. Okay, thanks. Boom, baby! I had such a busy week, Nate. I had such a busy week. And look what I've done now. So this is my latest NFT. This is the Boom collection. I'm looking forward to sharing it all with you. It's not quite ready for release yet, but yeah, my idea is to make 8,888 individual different explosions with D-Force, unreproducible to anyone else, and then, you know, shill them as NFTs. That's the idea. NFT it. I'm thinking that as well. It'll be the D-Force collection. Why don't we do that? Let's give the lady some hair and let's put good lights on this, and that'll be the first one in the collection. You've all been here live doing it with me. I love it. Let's do it. That's good. Yes, let's do that. That's great. I must save it. I must save it. I shall call it NFT 0001. I like it. Loving the camera as well. I'm going to go and do... That's my camera. She gets... Difficult to say where from. A backlight. Maybe from here. Also setting this up from scratch. I like that. Spotlight. Oh, no, that's not point light. Sorry. Spotlight. Use active viewport as that. The spotlight we'll call hello. Anyone? Obey my commands, computer. Rename. Can't rename it. Damn, brother, why not? F2 work? No. F2 does this. Can't rename my spotlight anymore. Man. There. Rim light. And on parameters, constraints, I'm going to point that at the upper chest. And now we'll go and give her kind of a front light. Difficult to say where that's from. I don't think I'll do a front light in the traditional sense. I think I might use something like a high key approach here. Let's go with a plane, 2 meters high, 1 division. That's good. Y positive, no, we're going to be, Y positive means it's flat like this. We want it to be probably like a Z positive. There we go. That's it. We'll turn that around like so and move it over like so. So it's like a large light box that a photographer would have. And it probably doesn't have to be a square. It's like a strip light is going to be enough here. Yeah, that'll be nice. And so this is going to be my soft box. Oh, come on. Not allowed to rename things anymore today. I don't know why. Okay, plain one then. Fine. Let's live with that. I'm good with it. Duplicate. Put that over here. Rotate it towards here. That's going to be our professional lighting rig. So it gives a really even illumination from both sides. I should have really put that up. In fact, let me go and set the light up on here first, and then we'll go and duplicate it afterwards. That's much easier. So one's to give the character some separation, not quite sure where to put that yet, and the other one is to give it an even illumination from the front. So let's set that up first. Environment, we're going to switch our HDRI off so that we essentially just have something black, and then on the surfaces of the plane, I'll go and add a bit of emission here. Let's make it pure white with a bit of wattage of, let's say, 500 watts. And let's have a look what that looks like in Iray. Yes, I mean, computer, don't you forget who's in charge here. I saw this super funny, it was like a meme, I think, by a Linux user, and Linux didn't want the user to do something and it needed admin privileges or whatnot. And the guy said, I am the admin. You don't ask for admin permissions, I am the admin. There. I also feel like we should turn the figure around and show her from her best from all sides. I could maybe even, you know, NFTs are very popular with animations these days, so that might be another idea. We just animate the figure and then we just have that. Maybe that's nice. Yeah, let's do that. We'll go and leave her in the middle. This is nice kind of spooky lighting here. Rim light to get the back. Luminous flux, let's say 50,000. We can see something. Oops. We can see something more. That's good. Area, I might just make that from a point light into a disk. And size is probably okay. We're going to bring that in slightly closer in a moment. Let's go and see if I'm allowed to rename my plane now. No, see? Totally not allowed. This plane renaming has been disabled in Daz Studio. Duplicate plane and make it plane 2. Put another one here. Just in time for Art Basel, Miami. Yes, the old high key approach. This is not so bad. Let me move the rim light into position, which is probably not close enough for it to make any meaningful differences here. World coordinates. So I move this sucker kind of over here and we'll see what that looks like. Could make it come slightly further down as well. There. Look through our camera. See what this looks like. Also, put more music on. Music. Epidemic playlist. There we go. There. I like it. I like it. It's almost a little bit too strong, the lighting. We'll bring it down a little bit. Also, I mean, just out of curiosity, what would it look like with the subdivision surface modifier on it? That could smooth out the edges. I don't know if we want to do that. Gonna give her an expression and some hair as well. It is art nowadays, isn't it? Absolutely. Do you reckon we should save it before we add that subdivision surface modifier? Let's go and save it over. Thank you for the warning, Patrick. I appreciate that. Edit, dress selected, object, geometry, convert to sub D. Beautiful. I like it much better. I like it much better. See, you can't make this in Marvelous Designer. Fashion designer have been trying for years to get this effect. We just happened to create it by accident. Usually people would throw it away, but no, it's actually art now, so... Rim lights there, that's nice. I like it. I'm almost tempted to try it from the other side, but also I'm okay for it to be used like that. Maybe I'll just go and put that onto my Genesis character. No, actually I won't. I'm going to put it all onto an empty that I can then rotate. Yeah, this is... I'm good with it. Let me just reduce the side lighting down just a tad, just a smidge. Yeah, not so bad. Not so bad. Also, yeah, let's give her, so now she can have real skin. Let's do that. Put Rosa Maria's skin on, perhaps. All maps. So that's 8.1. I can't do that. Let's go with something 8. Maybe Bridget. Does she have good skin? Bridget, we want your skin. Oh, you see, this is why this didn't work. Filter by context and then go on materials here. Sydney has good skin. Bridget, you're it. All maps. Do you know, yes, this as a catwalk animation. Oh, Patrick, that'd be good. Let's do that. I think I'm going to go and do a turntable like this. I see, now the light is different. Skin is slightly lighter, but we're good with the light still, I think. I think I'm okay with the harshness. Hair and expression. Hair, perhaps. Carla, short and sweet, I like it. Do you know, that actually goes with the color of the chiffon here. I like it. And maybe a little windier, like a bit more, so that it kind of matches the dress, perhaps. Let's blow it all, baby. Yes, there we go. That matches. See, it reflects, the hair reflects the dress. I like it. I also like the hair color, so we'll stay with blonde. Now, expression is a little bit difficult. Looks like a feature now, right? Yes, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Oh, we can't see anything here now because we've got no HDRI. I'm good with that. Expressions, there might be something. Isn't there something we can just quickly dial in? I think I found one here. That might be nice. Does this work? It's 8.1. Ah, it's 8.1. 8.1 expression. Poses expressions for face. So rather than... Oh, was there... What's this here? This is for Genesis 3. That won't work on 8. Well, it's kind of, you know, it's getting there. It'll work. Horrified scream, maybe that. What do you think? I think that'd be good. We can even, since we're animating this, we could interpolate between all of these. This and that, they're very similar here. So this and that. Side snarl. Oh, this is good. This is a set by Those Things. Scream of, what's it called? Screams of Terror and Battle by Those Things. That man is absolutely is a master in making expressions. I'm looking forward to his later products now for 8.1. See if you can find that link. These are for Genesis 3, but they seem to work fine on Genesis 8. Those Things, Screams of Terror and Battle for Genesis 3. So maybe we'll stick with this. And let's see if we can animate, not her actually, but an empty that we're going to put in the middle. So create new null. Apply default settings, yes. And to the null we go and parent her and the dress. And that's that. So the null will animate over, I'll say 160 frames. And at frame 160, we just want to have the Y rotation to be minus 360, essentially. So we don't see anything unless we turn this thing, and here she goes. Here she moves. Oh, is that the right way around? Yes, we want her to rotate this way, don't we? Okay. That's that. I would like it if we can make we leave the expression as it is, but maybe I like a bit of eye movement from, like, when she faces the camera, that she just goes left and right and then back into the middle. I kind of like that. Maybe we should do that. Oh, and also we need to go and change the interpolation of the keyframes for the null. Both of these to linear. I think then when we play it back, it just goes and interpolates at a linear rate. Good. So then at one point she faces the camera. So since the loop point is basically when she's facing full frontal, so I want for there to maybe not be any motion there, but maybe when she comes into view like this. I'll just go and set a keyframe here, so that from here to there she's not moving, so that she's back at that point. So here we could have a keyframe with where the eyes just go to one side. See, Genesis 8, I still really like Genesis 8 because it has such a better PowerPost template for these things. So she comes into vision with this. And stays like that, and then over just a few frames she's gonna look the other way, just as concerned, for as long, and then so kind of from here to there, and then she looks back. So let's see. If that was to be observed by the camera, yeah, that'll work. I think maybe we're a little bit too zoomed in. I think I might just set up 2 cameras from which I can render, and then I can go and switch between them. So I can render this out as one pass and then as another pass. So one camera can just show us this. Or even with shoes. How's that? Do we need shoes on this? Maybe we're probably okay with just this. Camera's not moving. No, this is perfect. And then if we had a second camera, May I rename the cameras? No, I'm not allowed to rename. Oh, there we go. I can. Close cam. Yes, I like it. Yes, Patrick, what are you saying? Just a little bit further over here. I just like this nervous expression. And we get a bit of detail on, you know, on the clothing. Awesome. Let's go save that out. And how long does a render take here? Can we do this in the next 5 minutes? We might need a little bit longer than that. Certainly don't need it that large. I think maybe it's 1200 by 1200. Jon Snow if it was female. I do like that overly concerned expression on her face. I do like that. So yes, D-Force, always a bit of a mystery. Glad that wasn't the focus of the stream. So I think I'd still like to understand a bit more about this workflow. So maybe I will try this all again tomorrow with a different item of clothing, perhaps one that doesn't require D-Force. So there's one, so while I render this off stream and present it to you later on, looks like we may need a few more iterations here because these crinkles, they look seriously good. Let me go and make that try 1,000 iterations while we talk about tomorrow's project. It's something that I've been trying to do a few weeks ago, and it's also one of Daniel's bits and pieces. It's not this dress. It is, so the dress, I'm going to do some research on what the best way to put D-Force on is, and as soon as I know it, I will share it with you. But in all honesty, Mr. Chris is the man, and yeah, Chris explains these things quite frequently on his stream, so he probably knows better how to do this than I. But if we watch what he's doing, he can probably explain it to us, and eventually it'll just, you know, stick. What I'd like to try then tomorrow is this corset here. This is something I've tried before, and what I couldn't figure out at that point is how to get it decimated. So this is extremely high poly, and I tried to remesh it and I just didn't have any luck. Brian tried it in iClone, worked perfectly fine. I've got a render of this on my ArtStation page, I think. Let me show you that. And so it took an extreme amount of time to go and put this, there it is, to put this together into Daz Studio. There's a bit of detail there. So I might go, and now that I know how this works, I might go and try and bring this in. It has several material zones on here. We can see if we can recreate those in Substance Painter. I think I can bring this to about 100,000 polys, and it won't require D-Force, but it'll require several fit morphs. So we can have a look at how to do that in Daz Studio. Yeah, this was the workflow back then, but it's very rich. This is what it looks like, and it is fittable. Now that I know how to decimate things properly in Blender, let's go and try this out perhaps tomorrow. My friends, I will go and render this out. I see there's still some. Is this enough? I think maybe 1,000 iterations might be enough. I also need to fix the transparency on the hair. Let's just go do that now. Hair transparency, not gonna fix it. 1,000 iterations probably okay to get the detail right. Hair transparency, one of those things that is often cumbersome, but the way to fix that is to go to the Surfaces tab, have a look at all these material zones that we have here. So all of them have that. So basically per zone under geometry, if you just drop down the cutout opacity to 0.99, that's going to fix that. But you have to do it on every channel. So I say go select them all, search for cut out opacity and then just tweak that value overall. And now if we go and render it again, hair transparency shall no longer be an issue. I hope. Let's try. We go naughty, Elithio. Absolutely, we go naughty tomorrow. Let's do this with Daniel's stream corset. Yeah, see? Hair transparency issues fixed. All right, my friends, join me at 10 a.m. I'm looking forward to this. It was a wonderful time. It was wonderful hanging out with you. Thank you so much for everyone who's dropped by. Thank you for all the super chat donations. Greatly appreciated. I will see you guys tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My friends, take care. Bye-bye.